This episode of Top to Bottom is sponsored by Noted Analytics. Are you tired of losing sales opportunities to the status quo? Not seeing meaningful information in CRM to help close deals? Empower your team with Noted Analytics, the first guided selling for CRM platform that uses sales methodologies like gap selling, Medic, and others to revolutionize the way revenue teams capture, evaluate, and measure sales process effectiveness. Start increasing win rates, shortening sales cycles, and growing average sales prices today. Check it out at notedanalytics.com.
And we're live.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Sales Top to Bottom. I'm your host, Keenan. This is where we talk about all the things sales in a quick and punchy fashion. So with me, obviously, is our lovely host, our lovely host. She's like, yes, we have a guest today. Our lovely host, Becc Holland. Becc, where are you right now? You look at a different place.
I am currently in Dallas, Texas. Plano, Texas, to be exact.
Plano, Texas.
No, but where exactly in Plano? Like where are you right this second?
I'm at my family's house.
But where at your family's house, Becc?
In the addition.
Is it the addition, Becc? Or is it your bedroom, Becc? Is it your bedroom?
My room. My mom said in my room. She said, go do the podcast. Get some work done.
Is that the room you grew up in when you were a little kid? Is that where all the action happened, Becc?
No, because
Action.
you have said, we're going to sideswipe that one. There is no one more interested in my personal life than Keenan, combined across the
Only because I know it bugs her. It's like poking. It's like, hey, please don't poke that. And so, of course, poke that.
I'm surprised that you don't know that this is the room that I grew up in.
Yes, I took a shower right there. I took a shower in that back room. I remember it plain as day.
There's
so much context to be filled.
He didn't just say his little minds at the beginning. He did take a shower up there.
Yes, I did.
So, point being, you always call me out that I tell you a fact over and over and over and over and over again about this edition. You've called me out on it before. That I say my dad built this edition.
So you would come home.
So I didn't grow up in it.
But it's not as much fun if I don't go that way. But it still could be where all the action happens. You never know.
He did build the addition, so I'd come home more.
And yet here you are, home.
And there you are.
All right.
Okay.
What do we got today, Min?
So with that, we're on to the first segment of this podcast, which is Email Teardown. This is the segment where Keenan and Becc tear down emails and messages that were sent over to them. So on to the first email. This one was sent to Becc, and this one says, "Hi, Becc. I messaged you on LinkedIn to arrange a call, but I thought this might be better. We get leads for small businesses. Most of our clients rely on referrals and networking. For new business, very few have a lead generating sales engine. We do the sales outreach so you don't have to. We build large targeted prospect lists, write up sales pitches that actually work, and then do the actual outreach to entice decision makers to speak with you about your solutions. At the end of the day, we put sales calls on your calendar and are trusted by reputable companies like BounceX, Power Inbox, and Constant Contact. If having an automatic source of booked sales calls sounds exciting, we should talk. Let's connect and discuss how our consultants can assist you. When would be a good date and time for a call within the next few days?"
That only took half the answering time. Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Becc, what are your thoughts on this email?
So it's a normal email, and that it has a lot of this most similar errors. Two things I want to call out on this one. Well, three things. I'll go rapid fire. Number one, this long block of text in that second line is a no-no from an aesthetic view. So you shouldn't put more than one sentence in a paragraph, otherwise people won't read it aesthetically. Like anytime they see a long block of text, they're going to go over. Second thing I want to call out is there is an uncanny amount of people that send me messages trying to sell me leads and prospecting services. Like I would say somewhere in the realm of 4 to 5 a week. And I'm a company that helps you create leads and prospecting services. So it's so bizarre to me that it's not like this one-off case, but this is another case of that. And then the third one is the assumptive closes near the end. From a psychology view, are going to hurt you. Let's connect and discuss how our consultants can assist you. When would be a good date and time for us to call? Those are going to hurt you from a psychology view. But the main glaring issue is you should know if you compete with someone. I think that's like kind of, in my opinion, that's kind of table stakes. It's pre 101. Keenan, what do you think?
I don't have much on this. It's long. It doesn't address the problem. And it doesn't feel like the person's actually engaging me to think, right? So they're just talking at me. And it's not driving me to start thinking, wait, do I have this problem in my org? Am I struggling with this? So if they had simply added a couple of challenging or thought-provoking questions about, are you seeing a decline in meetings set in this recession, right? Maybe give me a stat, just get me thinking. And then it's not getting me thinking. So if I get in a sales email and I don't start thinking about my world within 5 seconds, 3 seconds, I'm out.
Now on to the second email. This one was sent to Keenan. And the subject line was, "Are you a recruiter? You'll love it. Hi, Keenan. How much time could you save if you have an app that would sort through millions of profiles? Finding experienced tech talent is a challenge for startups and enterprises. Avena can help you find the right people with skills and expertise quickly. Click here to get started. Best," and then there's no name on the end. Keenan, what are your thoughts on this email?
Well, I'm not a recruiting company. I don't recruit. So, to Beck's point, please, people, know who you're sending this shit to. Take the extra time to get actual recruiting companies. Take the time to know who you're selling to and why they're on your list. So that's first and foremost. Secondly, you said something about what you can get to millions of people. Or something like that?
How much time could you save if you have an app that could sort through millions of profiles?
I don't know. The whole thing just lost me when I don't recruit. You know what I'm saying? I don't recruit. And so you sent it to me and now I'm lost. So it's short. I'll give them that, but they don't. Yeah, that's it. You lost me.
Becc, what do you think?
So the main thing to me, and I am really passionate about it because of the frequency of which I see it, is we have got to stop asking self-diagnosis questions.
Amen.
We have got to stop asking self-diagnosis questions. Every post that I see is encouraging people to do it. But if you're asking your buyer to diagnose, it means two things, and then I'm done. Number one, that you don't know the answer to that question. And number two, that you're begging them to have the answer, which they're probably going to be wrong even if they do it.
That was beautiful timing.
I'd like to throw a curve here before we move on to the next one. I think that we should solicit people to send in an email that they want to write. So, because everything we do is we tear them down.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't found a good one to say, here's a good one. I've been looking to submit a good one and say, here's a really good one. I think we had one that was kind of half good. Mm-hmm. So I think we should do is encourage our audience, everybody listening, to send men email that you want to send out or you think is good or you're looking for our feedback on to make better that you can use. So there's that. Anybody want to send us an email that you are currently writing?
The best email to send it to is top2bottom@gmail.com.
Look at that.
There you go.
Got them ready.
Put it in here.
We can blare out your name if you want. We don't have to, but we can blank out your name if you want it to be anonymous.
100%. 100%. Now, with that, we're on to the second segment of this podcast, which is
Sales Mythology.
This is the segment where Becc and Keenan demystify common myths in the sales industry. Now, on to the first sales myth. It is all about the top of the funnel. Keenan, what are your thoughts on this one?
Nope. I used to be a victim of this. I think the top of the funnel is very important. Very, very important. Just from a pure numbers game, the more you get, the better. But, you're better off, or equally, but I would probably say better off at scale, converting what you have better. Now, technically speaking, they should come together, but converting what you have better. So much energy and time is spent trying to get shit in the funnel, right? And then they suffer these 15, 20, 10% close rates or win rates, which I think are even lower than that because I think people rig the system. And so they throw out 85%, 80% of all of the pipeline they generate, they throw it out. It's close lost, and maybe some poor sap comes on, and they say, oh, go through our close loss, see if you can revitalize them. No, it's horrible. Horrible. We're not spending enough time on pipeline conversion. Now, I'll give you one thing to think about, and then I'll throw it over to Becc. If you have a 10, I'm going to make it a high one. If you have a 20% close rate, and you can move the needle by 1%, that equates to a 5% increase in revenue or sales, whatever you measure. That means if you can go from a 20% close rate to a 22% close rate, that is now a 10% increase in revenue. So the smallest movements in your win rates have massive improvement on your actual overall revenue. And people miss it. So think about that. How many more outbound funnel pipeline opportunities would you have to create to drive 5% or 10% more revenue? That's a shitload more work than it is to just convert what you got.
Becc, what do you think?
Yeah, well, my mind instantly goes to of like, yeah, you're right, of 10% increase in deals closed, but I'm also thinking the things that you would do to increase close rates would also increase price and not discounting and holding your ASP. So it actually might be even more aggressive than that. I think
Great observation, Becc.
a lot of people think about it so often. I believe, and Keenan, you might like this analogy. I'm going to do one inappropriate analogy. I feel like closing people equate to, it's kind of like how everyone thinks they're a good kisser. They have no immediate feedback in the moment, so they think they're awesome.
I always get immediate feedback.
Everyone's,
oh my God, that was heaven. Immediately.
Everyone's convinced of it. Everyone's convinced of it. And like selling is the same thing. They don't have a buyer outright tell them, I'm not going to close with you, or I'm going to ghost you, or I'm going to go with your competitor because of the trash questions you just asked me in discovery. So everyone's convinced in their head that they're a good seller. Like myself included, less and less aggressively every single day. I see the room for improvement. But just from a math view, like to your point, top of funnel is the most difficult thing to really initiate and create, and can be a cost center. Yeah. And I stopped to wonder why people aren't even thinking typically or addressing like, hey, maybe we shouldn't discount so much. Maybe we shouldn't, like our ASP should be higher. Maybe our close rates are off. And people look at those less often than they look at top of funnel. Because I think people want somewhere to blame. They're like, well, I don't have enough opportunities. So I think the hard question you have to ask yourself, which is a difficult question, is like, maybe I should think about how I'm swinging the bat instead of like my actual at bats, and just starting that journey of like, maybe I should think of like, what is the standard of quality within discovery? What do I think my rep should be after? And when I start to uncover the questions that they are asking in discovery, especially if it's recorded, I think you'd be surprised what you'd find that naturally as a leader, you're like, okay, this isn't okay. This isn't okay. This isn't okay. But I would, from a math view alone, I would focus on discovery conversion more than I would top of funnel.
The other thing that people don't recognize as well is your conversion rate goes up, it lowers your CAC.
Yeah.
People don't recognize that too. People focus. I've actually never seen, if anybody's seen it, tell me, but I've never actually seen an executive talk about lowering CAC by conversion. I hear them talk about trying to figure out how they can spend less to get more, right? So how can we get more people for the money we're spending? No one's thought about it for a second, that how can I convert more of what I've got to lower my CAC?
Yeah. and always within the closed won channels, it's like this customer went dark on me. This customer, it's so passive.
Yeah.
This customer went dark on me. They went dark on me. Like it's an excuse. Like
they decided not to change.
Yeah, they're not responding, or they didn't have budget even.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's still on you, bro. That's still on you.
Ready for this? So wait. So I'm gonna let everybody out in a little secret. Okay, you're gonna be the first ones. It's not quite done. I think it'll be done by probably Monday. But we have finally completed our massive research project.
Why buyers buy and why?
Yes. And did you know, early numbers are coming back, I feel like election night, that 66% of people have bought something where they had no budget or spent above budget. 66%. Now, Beck, you're like, yeah, of course. But the reason I'm getting so passionate is because no one's actually proved it. We've all been running around saying budget doesn't matter, and there's a whole argument. People saying, yes, it does. No, it doesn't. Why would you ever spend it if they don't have a budget? Well, I'm telling you why. 66%. Now, watch this. This is crazy. I'm going to play in the extreme. I won't even tell you the smaller numbers. 18% of those people spent 50% more than they budgeted, and another 18% spent 75% more than they budgeted. Don't ever fucking tell me about budget again. Ever. Don't talk to me about budget again.
They'll find budget when you find a problem or more of an impact that they weren't aware of, or a root cause that they can address. Like, when you increase that, I'll go ahead and find the budget. Most of my purchases are.
Oh shit! You stayed at 7? Oh. Okay. Thank you. I almost missed a meeting today that I have to meet someone in person. I have to go to it, and I literally would not have gone. So keep going. Sorry. Holy shit.
All right, man. Next one.
All right. We're on to the next one. The next sales myth for today is you can run a sales team without a methodology. Beck, why don't you start us off on this one? What do you think?
I don't think it's a myth and that you can. I think it's a myth that it's a good idea to. So I would question what you mean by running a sales team. Because to me, running a sales team doesn't mean bullying them. Hey, where's your pipeline? Okay, what happened in this deal? Okay, what happened in this deal? To me, running a sales team means identifying what they're doing incorrectly within discovery, within negotiation, within pricing, within all the different steps, and then coaching them to get better. That's what running a sales team is, in my opinion. So without a methodology, you have no, let's put aside the fact of like the benefit or the increase that you will see in applying any kind of method. If you have no method of which you're operating, you have no standard of what good looks like for your reps to hold them accountable to. So they're just flying by the seat of their pants of what they think is good or bad, which can be really dangerous.
Keenan, what are your thoughts?
No, what Beck said at the very end, and I think the operative word, can you run a sales team? Look, I would even argue if you're an individual rep and you haven't built one for yourself, I would even say you can't do it. Now, if you built your own, you get your own set of processes, fine. But if you're going to run into a sales organization and you do not have a defined methodology, I would argue and go toe-to-toe in a debate that you're underperforming and that you're not doing your job. Period. Because to Beck's point, that methodology determines what information are you trying to get from a buyer. It determines and assesses how you use that information to drive the rest of the sale. It dictates what your proposals or recommendations look like and how they're structured. It drives how you do a deal review. It drives how you assess your forecast. Like, everything should be driven. Now, here's the key piece. It needs to be a methodology you believe works. It's not a bunch of steps like BANT or MEDIC. It's actually a set of steps and information that work, and you drive to make them present at all times.
I think he caught it. I do give a last hiccup to what you were saying. You said it could. You guarantee they're underperforming, and you guarantee, like, they basically don't know where they're going. Even if they're overperforming on their quota, part of running a sales team comes down to predictability. So if you're winning and you don't know why, and you can't replicate that because you have no standard, you're still not running a sales team.
But you're still underperforming.
Well, like even if they're past quota, let's say
They're still underperforming is my point.
Like of what they could, right? But if they're exceeding their quota,
yeah,
but you don't know why, and you don't know what they're doing, you're still not running a sales team. You effectively have no job. You're just, hey, here's your pipeline, da da da.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's a good point, Becc. Like we talk all the time of, too many salespeople say I'm making my quotas or I'm performing, I'm doing well. But this is going to sound a bit cheesy and humble brag, but the thing I was probably best at was running, right? I hated it. So I played football. I was pretty good at that, but I was running. And without any practice, without any training, and just going around and fucking off in sessions and track, I ran the 400. I ran it for 1 year. I got all the way down to 53 seconds, and I didn't train. I just walked out and did it. Had I actually trained, like built like splits and did 200, 400, 600s and lifted weights and did all this shit and actually paid attention, easily could have broke 50, probably could have got into the high 40s. I don't think I would have been world class, but easily. But got me to states. All I needed was the 54 to get to states. I'm performing. You know what I'm saying? Finished it in 8th overall in states. I'm performing. No, I wasn't.
And their coaches, like professional athletes, when they had these like amazing trainers or amazing coaches, what they're amazing at is identifying what you're doing incorrectly.
Yes.
They can speed you up.
Yep. 100%.
All right. And so with that, we are on to the next segment of this podcast, which is
Take it or leave it.
This is the segment where I introduce common sales tactics and Keenan and Becc let us know whether they would take it or leave it. And so the first one today is AI generated sequences. Becc, take it or leave it.
Do you mean sales reps sending those?
Sales reps sending AI generated sequences.
They're better than what they're normally doing, but they're not effective, in my opinion. And I don't think you need a sales rep for it. So I'm a team. It makes it a little bit better, but I don't think that you need a rep to do that. Thanks to Chat GPT. And yeah, and they're still not the quality that they need to be to actually get the responses that you need typically to hit a prospecting quota or to hit your ARR quota based on the prospecting that you need.
Ooh. Keenan, what about you? Take it or leave it?
Leave it. They're now you can smell them a mile away.
Yeah.
You can smell them a mile away. So if your team can't write emails, freaking hire an organization or have someone inside your organization write them for the salespeople and create a library. Like I don't think there's enough standardization around emails. And we're just as guilty here, but we're small. But if you're a decent sized company, this should be someone's job. You should have copywriters, and it's their job to build a library of emails that work. It's their job to go through them and keep rewriting them and rechanging them and blah, blah. Like that should be their job, not the salesperson. So don't throw that outsource that to Chat GPT. It's terrible.
Okay, so the next take it or leave it for today is saying, does that make sense during sales calls? Keenan, take it or leave it.
Oh, I'm going to piss back off with this one.
I knew when I saw it in the agenda, I was like, Keenan just wanted to piss me off. He had to have one. He built the agenda.
Take it. But like most things, it's how you use it, right? I say it all the time. It is very well planned, and I actually listen to how they respond. And if I hear doubt, if there's a long pause, I say, it doesn't sound like you're convinced. So then it gives me an opportunity to stop or to ask or to question further. So it is not a reflex for me. It is actually a very timed and well-placed tool to make sure that person is where I want them to be before I move forward.
Becc, what about you? Take it or leave it.
I have a question before I give my answer. So Keenan, if there was an alternative that didn't hit in the wrong way, but still acquired the information of whether they're comprehending, would you take it?
It would determine on what it is and how well it fit with my personality and approach. Yes. So yeah, I'll do anything that's different, but not if it feels forced or inauthentic. No.
Okay. Well, I'm a hard leave it. From psychology view, it's like a textbook sin.
It's like a what?
It's
textbook sin.
hooks in. So if you say, does that make sense? You're immediately going into parent ego state, going to shove them into child ego state, and they're going to rebel. They're going to feel placated at best. And they're going to some degree, black out in the conversation, and meaning the child ego state is going to take the wheel in most cases. And it doesn't matter what you were saying before that. So a good option that I would use is, am I making any sense? So you're not questioning someone's ability to comprehend, but you're questioning your ability to communicate. It usually gets the same exact flavor, the same exact information, and it doesn't put them in an ego state, that's far off bound. So I'm not trying to sell. I don't want someone to like me in the process and buy because of it. I don't want someone to buy because of me. I don't want someone to have to buy despite me. So I'm trying to really mute myself from a personality perspective out in the conversation. So I believe that it's a self-diagnosis question. I believe that the information is valuable on whether they comprehend. I think there's a couple other questions that you could ask to get that information, but from an ego state perspective, I'd say it's going to hit them in the wrong.
I'm a sinner. I'm going to get a shirt. I'm a sinner. Does that make sense?
I don't think you need the shirt.
I'm a sinner. Does that make sense?
People are aware.
Okay, what do you got?
All right, the last one we're going to go over today is a quick one. It's group demos. Becc, take it or leave it.
One to many. You mean not like we're demoing as a group, but you're demoing to a group?
Yes, demoing to a group.
I'm going to piss Keenan off. Oh shoot, I'm up on time. Don't bait me like that, man.
Say it. Just say it.
Just say it. Take it or leave it.
I'm not taking the horn.
Okay, fine.
Take it or leave it.
You can take the horn. You take the horn.
All you had to say was take it or leave it. That's all you had to say.
I'm a TVET.
Oh, there's no.
I am a leave it if the person is within the context of ICP that you believe that their level of title, blah, blah, blah. I'm a hard take it where most people won't talk to a certain amount of buyers. They're like, oh, well, they're an IC or they're a blank, 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 blank. Someone requests a demo. I think you should deliver on that. So I've taken a senior SDR and had them demo one to many, get the common buyer person in the room and say like, oh, it's a VP of sale or whatever it is. And like customize that demo to the person. But like, you just have a pot of people that you didn't demo, because they didn't hit a certain qualification bar. Then I'm a hard take it. Why? Like, you should deliver them having access to your product. You shouldn't say you're not good enough to see my product. That's crazy to me. So I'm gonna take it.
I'm gonna take it. 100%. They want take it. If they want to bring 20 people to the table, let's go. I can do it. Let's go.
I thought you meant multiple buyers.
Doesn't matter if it's a multiple buyers or a bunch of buyers and influencers. It's just a group. You got to do a demo for a whole group.
Multiple companies is what I thought.
No. That wasn't. I guess it doesn't. You answered multiple companies, but it was just a whole group of people. But anyway, yeah. All right. Next up.
All right, we're on to the next segment of this podcast, which is
the inbox.
Yes, my
Becc, you have some
segment.
fans. John Runyon loves you. He says he doesn't like to hear that you mute yourself. You got to be you and flow.
Wait, did I mute myself?
You said that when you were talking about. Did that make sense? That makes sense, Becc? Okay. All right, go.
All right. Well, hey, this is the segment where Keenan and Becc answer questions from our audience. And to help with that, we have the trusty mailbox with us.
Oh, so glad that thing's back.
100%. And so, without further ado, let's see who sent in messages.
We got to get people answering here, too. We're not doing a good job of letting them teeing them up.
Specific, I love that photo of me. Yeah, why don't people, John, you have to ask a question.
Runyon.
Well, hey, this is from, this person wishes to remain anonymous. My company is starting to employ an influencer/social selling strategy across our sales department. The leaders that are at the top are enforcing us to maintain LinkedIn SSI scores above a certain level, which forces me to dedicate about 1 to 2 hours every day posting and engaging on LinkedIn instead of doing my normal cold calls and emails. And they say it's because no one picks up calls or emails anymore anyways, but I don't particularly agree. What do you guys think? Is this the future of the industry or a big miscalculation on how we do sales? Keenan, why don't you start us off on this one? What do you think?
So, yeah, I agree with her company. The difference being is I think it's how it's executed and rolled out. But every single day that goes by, I get more and more in the camp that it should no longer be about outbound or inbound. It should be simply about lead generation. What is our process for generating leads, me as an individual and my company as a whole? And I believe very strongly that if an organization wants to invest the time to let their people begin to build these audiences around these things and talk about these things and getting voices out there, it works and it will continue to work. So I'm a huge proponent. Now, rolling it out and how you build it, as she described it, I'm not sure that's the right execution approach. So I would want to reevaluate that, but I am full on board that the world of just email is not going to get you numbers anymore.
All right, Becc, what about you? What do you think?
Well, I think most people know where I'm at on the topic. I would have to ask a couple of questions to understand how much I disagree with the strategy, but the point is that I disagree. You know, like, who's the buyer? Is it a really technical buyer? Is it an HVAC plumber? You know, they're not on LinkedIn. But like a community strategy, what's jarring to me the most about the argument is like a community built influencer strategy. That's a nurture strategy. Like, communities are for nurture, meaning they're already customers. And so they see the value on that. So from a pipeline generation perspective, the math just isn't there, at least from my view and all the companies I've worked with and seen. But I would imagine they're asking the question because they disagree. This person, I mean, they said that they disagree with the strategy. I'd say it's going to build a discomfort within you. And so I'd wonder if they're very, very mandatory about it. Why are they so mandatory about it? And are they okay with you pursuing other strategies? Two other questions I'd ask myself, and then we can go to the second question. Am I a top performer? So if I don't believe in this, but I'm not a top performer, and the other top performers who are top performers are doing this strategy, I'd always ask myself, like, is there something to this? My last tip would be let the math do the talking. So if you're a cold emailer, cold caller,
Yep.
you're top of the leaderboard or even middle of the leaderboard, but you're at 80% of quota attainment, and then you shift to the social selling strategy and actually give it a chance, and then you see a dip or you see an increase, I would let the math do the talking. Yep. More so. But if you see the dip, you prove it to your leaders and they still won't churn off of it, then like I would reevaluate. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we're going to quickly go on to question number 2. This one is from Antonio de Oliveira from Charlotte, North Carolina. He asks, we often see what not to do in prospecting, but what are some examples of great prospecting emails or calls that you guys have received? Becc, what do you have to say about this?
I tip, find things that they don't know about themselves that will hurt them. For them in specific and then broader in general, that is the number one tip that I have for prospecting emails that could improve them.
Keenan, what about you? What do you think?
Yeah, the ones that I like best to get my attention are the ones that punch me right in the nose with the problem I know I'm having and I haven't been able to solve yet, or I don't know I'm having and make me think, ooh, am I having this problem, and stop thinking about it.
I think he got 2 half horns, which equals a whole horn. in my professional executive opinion.
Professional.
We can go back to the tape and see.
We'll do a frame by frame analysis.
Exactly. I got it off before the buzzer, baby.
I'm so scared if people start paying attention to my behavior on this podcast.
What makes you think they haven't been paying attention, Becc?
They haven't.
Well, hey, with that, we are going on to the next segment of this podcast, which is
the challenge.
This is the segment where Keenan and Becc break down a challenging subject within the sales industry. And the challenge for today is making your number during a down economy. Becc, why don't you start us off on this one?
Yeah, so I just want to point something out real quick before I jump in here.
Or this is going to be a complaint. I see it coming. She's going to complain.
Oh, now you're going to feel bad. You're going to feel really bad. I just want to give a shout out. Keenan put together this agenda, and this has been one of the strongest agendas that we've had all time in terms of topics. So I want everyone to jump in the comments. Yeah. Jump in the comments and don't say to Keenan, because these are fire topics. He puts them together all the time, but today was particularly good.
I mean, we have a low view count today. We gotta get
So,
better.
some of the comments you're gonna have to give two. Like these are really fire topics, and love how that played out from a timing perspective.
That was beautiful. Thank you, Becc. You're right. I feel terrible now. I feel terrible.
So, make you never during down economy. I think that people blame a down economy much more than they should. Like it actually, statistics will show you that top performers, they actually thrive in a down economy because they've learned how to do the things that they needed to do before the economy hit. So the economy flexing up and down, all that will do is it will increase or decrease your inbounds and your buyers that are already buyer ready and have already like quote unquote sold themselves with high buyer intent. So that shows you how much self-educating they've done and self-diagnosing that they've done to create a need within themselves. But neither of those case scenarios really have to deal with your ability in the room to find problems that they didn't know about. So the thing that you can't control leads coming from marketing or how buyer ready or how much research they've done beforehand or before they jump on the discovery call. What you can control is what do you diagnose whenever you're in the room. So can you diagnose problems they don't know about? Can you diagnose an impact that they don't know about? And can you exacerbate the size of the current problem, not by asking them pain questions, but identifying impacts, root causes, problem size, scope, aggression, how it's, rolling out across the team. So you're increasing not the actual net size of the problem, but their perspective of the problem that did truly exist. So I think, honestly, that's a cop-out that I see sellers take all the time, that they're like, it's a down economy. So like, I can't buy as much, but I would say like a down economy is a challenge to you to learn how to sell, to learn how to diagnose, and to like actually acquire some skill set from my perspective, so that you can like still meet the numbers even when budgets are dipping or headcounts dipping. Keenan, what do you think?
So I think, Becc, you said a lot of good things, and I don't know that I'm necessarily going to add a whole lot more at the macro level, but I want to share some things with people. When we talk about quote unquote a down economy, we're talking about a recession. Okay, recessions are traditionally defined as 2 quarters back to back where the economy shrinks. So, and those economies usually shrink between 1, 2, or 3%, not 10 or 15. Now, the pandemic, okay, that shrunk by like 10%, but it shrinks by 1 or 2 or 3%. So that means that people are just being a little more less discretionary in their spending. That means people are panicking and making cuts to try to buckle, to get rid of the fat and move in. But it doesn't mean they're not running business day to day. And a lot of times these people are just asshats, right, in the cuts they make. But I digress. So it doesn't mean they're not doing business anymore. So one of the things that I say to people, and I wrote an ebook on this, is you got to take a good hard look at what your product solves. What problems does your product or service solve? And you take a good hard look at those problems. I don't want superficial shit. What problems do we solve inside that business? And how do those problems manifest themselves to negative impact? Then you want to go find the companies where you think that those problems will be maximized during a recession or during a downturn. And then you want to figure out what is it about the recession or downturn that is the root cause of that is magnifying those. Mm-hmm. Then what you want to do is you want to go find those customers and have conversations with them, which is called the discovery. And you want to have a conversation with them, and you want to find out, as Becc said, and you want to uncover, is the cost of not changing greater than the cost of changing? Mm-hmm. So in other words, I see this all the time, and this is why I can't work for big companies. They literally will be faced with or let me rephrase it, they're not paying enough attention. They'll say, oh, we can't spend the money. Okay, but if you right now you're losing, making up a number, $250,000 a year. It will cost, $250,000 a month. It will cost you $250,000 to implement this solution, which means you will, if you implement the solution and it works, and of course it's got to work, and it works, mm-hmm. then you will save $750,000. Mm-hmm. Now, that is over time, might take over the year and a half. You'll have to spend the $250 now, whatever. But the bottom line is whether you write a check for $250 or you're losing 10,000 over here, 100,000 here, 6,000 here, 9,000 over here, and collaboratively at the end of the quarter, you've lost 250,000. What's the difference?
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference? So you have to be able to sell in a way that you can say to these buyers, look, I understand it's a tough time, but here's the cost of not changing versus the cost of changing. Are you willing to spend $250 to stop losing $1 million, or you want to continue losing? And I always like to say it this way, and I'll give it back to you, Becc. If you can't afford to lose $1 million, then I'm rephrasing. If you can't afford to lose 250 or spend my 250,000, you certainly can't afford to lose $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you do it.
If anything, the problems get more important in a recession.
Yeah.
Or exacerbated to solve. I was talking to, and then we go on to the second one.
There is no second challenge, isn't there? There's just one.
I think there's a second one.
Oh, okay.
So, I was talking to someone the other day on a call, and it hurts my stomach every single time that I hear it. They said, I get the whole problem, blah, blah, but we don't solve problems for buyers. And I'm like, that's incorrect. Buyers buy something to solve a problem. You might not be aware of it, but buyers are always going to buy something to solve a problem. And so they're like, oh, well, we're this one-off case, or this is why. And I dig into the math, and I'm like, you absolutely solve a problem. This is the problems that you would hypothetically solve for a buyer. Like it was well, I won't go into the details, but I'm like, your buyers use your product to solve a problem. Now, whether you're aware of that or not is a whole different category. So I'd be like, okay, I'm going to take accountability that if I don't know what problem I solve, I have to find that out today, so I can mirror myself to the journey that buyers are using us for along the way.
So, Becc, I really like what you said. In a recession, making the right decision, it's more important. Exactly. In a recession, it's actually more important. So this is where I think people don't understand. What recessions do is they basically flush all of the easy shit out.
Totally.
That's what they do. All the easy closing, all of the stuff where the buyer doesn't feel stressed, all of the, I've only got this much, I got this much budget left, I got to spend it. They don't pay attention to what they fucking spend it on, right? All of that gets flushed out. Okay. So that's why it becomes more difficult. You actually have to make a case. And most salespeople don't know how to make a case. And I'm going to give you everybody else something too. Now, this is going to be interesting how people respond to this. This is a micro versus macro comparison. Okay. Again, a recession, 2 quarters of declining GDP. Okay. So unless you're in something that is basically an industry that's in a free fall, let's say dial up when broadband came out, you know what I'm saying? Okay. That's a free fall. That's a dying industry. That's not a recession. So unless you're outside of that, take a look at your company and say, okay, how big is our entire market? Okay. So let's just say you're a $50 million company and you're playing in a $40 billion market. Okay. And that market falls 10%. Say that, right? So that means now it's only I'm shitty at math. It's only a $38 billion market. You're 50. If you can't figure out how to get the same 50 million out of a 38 billion market or 40 billion market, you got problems. Like nobody owns enough of the business so that there's a direct correlation between the decline of the industry or the decline of the market and the decline of their sales. Nobody owns that much. The only people that should be scared in those situations are those who own like 70, 80%. Okay, that's going to hit you. But you own like 1%, half of a percent, right? 1/10 of a fucking percent. You had better be able to stay where you are and figure out how to get 50 million out of 38 billion as opposed to 40.
Yeah.
Oh, early. Okay, and with that, before we end this podcast, we have our last segment, which is...
Oh, listen, just one more thing.
Yes, one more thing.
This is the last segment where Becc and Keenan share with us what's on their mind and give us their closing thoughts. Keenan, why don't you start us off on this one? What is your just one more thing?
Yeah, man. I want to tell everybody listening, tell your mom, tell your dad, tell your boss at work, tell your peers, write it on your blog. I don't care. Get ready. Because this research we're doing, you thought I was obnoxious with gap selling. I got data behind me now. I am going to punch you motherfuckers in the nose so fucking hard. I am going to be so indignant. So all of you people are clinging to all those old school methods and all those old school beliefs. Get ready to get laid out, or just, what do they say when they're when in the old school they used to sword fights and they put their sword to them and they win, and no, but what do they do when they quit? What they say? I not concede. I
surrender.
Someone help me out. So when two people are fighting for their honor with swords, and one dude has it, and right there you can kill him or not, and he says,
abdicate. It's like I know what you're saying.
Yes, and it's the honorable way to stop it without being killed, right? It's not concede, but it's like concede.
Like you hit over your
yield. Thank you very much, Mark Collins. Thank you very much. So all of you suckers have been arguing with me and thinking I'm obnoxious and yelling at me and fucking blah blah blah. Get ready to yield. Get ready to yield. I have no patience now. So I'll give you one example. I just gave you that one example of people in budget. I'll give you another example. I'm not going to give you the whole. I'm not going to open up the whole kimono, but you ready for this? Roughly 30% of people. No, I think it's higher. I'm gonna make it low because I think it's higher. 30% of buyers start the buying process without knowing what the problem is. Don't tell me ever again that 80% of people are 80% of the way through the fucking buying process by the time you reach out to a salesperson. It's fucking bullshit. It's bullshit. They literally do. 30% of people haven't even started assessing and scoping the problem before they start the buying process. Got another one right on its heels. Over 50% of people re-scope the problem after the sale has started. 3 times. 3 times. So, hey, numbnuts, for all of you who have been walking around selling a product, if you're selling a product-centric selling in an environment where the buyer hasn't even checked out the problem, and when they have checked out the problem, they have to re-scope it 3 times, you ain't winning by selling a product. So, man, I'm telling you, I cannot wait. The information we have learned is mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. So get ready. I was indignant before, but I'm being indignant now.
I have a question before I give mine. Is there anything that you learned in the research, and maybe it's for next time, that was disadvantageous to your case, or something that you were like, ooh, never mind, I need to change my view on that when you were studying these buyers?
So there are a couple of things that are pointing that way, but the way the questions were asked, it needs to be compared. Like we have to take it back up to other questions, or we have to, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't a yes or no. I can't say, oh, yes. It was a list of things and how they ranked those things in comparison. So there's a whole bunch of information that we have to actually, what's the word, dissect or whatever.
Yeah.
Yes. And we hired a very impressive company with PhDs in this stuff who are helping us do this. So it's not my dumb ass either. So I think there'll be a couple of things. And I think there'll be a couple contradicting things. There's going to be a couple contradicting things. There was one that really shocked me, and I can't remember what it was, but it was like they said this, and over here they said this. I'm like, those two can't. Yeah.
No, yeah. Well, that's what I was thinking is even if you ask a buyer why they bought, like sometimes they don't know, sometimes they'll make stuff up, and sometimes that's going to be, it doesn't mean that you can't do your due diligence within the questions. I'm glad you hired a firm because they can ask a certain amount of questions to mute those out to a degree of like, you said you try to lead the jury here, but I've never seen Keenan so excited about data. This is a whole new.
I love data. I love data.
I'm like, now you know why I'm always so amped. So I'm like, hey, according to 72%.
You're gonna like this, Becc. You're gonna like.
I think we've is it Parent Trap or Freaky Friday?
Oh, I know. Sorry, Becc. I know one that you'll appreciate that was really messing with us. And we think we tried to reframe. So we took a bunch of tests and we reframed the question to get a better outcome. But here's one that really was a weird one. We did this thing about when a salesperson, do you go dark on a salesperson, right?
Yeah.
And the number was pretty high. But then we also asked, when people are cold calling you or reaching out to you, how many times do they have to do it before you respond? The average number was 2. No fucking way. No. Like that one I'm struggling with because I don't know how to benchmark it, but we all have a million anecdotal environments. Our salespeople make thousands of calls using dialers and and we see response rates. And so the whole industry is telling us it's not true, but the buyers are trying to tell us on average, they get back to a sales rep by the second or third call.
Yeah. Well, I think it also introduces a massive question. I heard this, 14 attempts, 16 attempts, 10 attempts. I'm like, it depends on the attempt. That's like saying that like LeBron James, it takes him 2 shots from half court to make it. And it takes me 500. And so we're going to hybrid that to 250 per so kind of to your point, like.
Yeah, but if you spread it out, we're doing a lot of people. We're not just doing a couple hundred. We're doing 5 figures in people responding. So to your point, if you have 1,000 people shoot it from half court, eventually you're going to get to a number. But what I'm saying is all the people that did it, that number was squeezing. There weren't much outliers. They weren't like a bunch that said a long time and right away. It was almost all right down the middle. I'm like, no, I already know you people do not get back.
I think that you could change the outcome by the quality of the attempt, or like, was it multi-threaded? Did you email beforehand? Did you leave a voice, kind of like to your point.
But still, that's all plays in back, right? So the thing is, the customers are saying they get back to buyers in 2 tries.
I don't think they don't get back to buy. Like, that makes no sense because the average.
That's my point.
The average prospector would send 3 to 4. Like, I would like, how did they get that data point? They just go, oh, okay, it's 2.
That's my point. This is one that's confusing us. That because to point, everything we know says that's not true, but the buyer is telling you, oh yeah, I get back. And because one of the things I never respond, they can click that. They can click way out. They can click I respond on the first one, but they were all coming. So I think, yeah. Anyways, we're burning time on this, but that's one that we're having a hard time reconciling.
Okay.
Becc, what is your just one more thing?
So I'm going to try and keep this brief as possible. I want to talk about very quickly the harm from a character perspective of discounting. So I got in a thread. I got in a mood this week, and I started chopping heads.
I've got mine still, thank God.
Yeah, so I'm evaluating, everything that I'm using, tech, blah, blah. And there's one vendor, and, I won't talk about the service. I won't watch this anyway, but it was charging me $3,000 a month for very, very minimal service. And like, this isn't $3,000 to Dell or Intel. This is $3,000 to me and my bank account. And I've noticed it over the last, couple of years. I'm like, this seems really high, but it's an expertise that I don't have. And I was screwed at the time, so I let it ride. And I sent a text message and I was like, hey, so I want to cut out a big part of this service or whatever. Like, bad news. Essentially, I just want you for this one piece. So what would this cost? And I had looked it up online, and that only as a net costs $1,000 to $1,500 total, whereas annual they're charging me $36,000. Okay. At one text message, they lowered their cost. She was like, yeah. Oh no, totally understand. We'll do the same service for $1,250 a month. So I'm like, so you just showed me that you were screwing me for the last 2 or 3 years, and you realize, and you reduced your cost with one text message from $3,000 a month to $1,250. Then I said, well, I researched, what about for this just one portion? And it is $1,000 to $1,500. She was like, oh, well, we'll lower to $1,000. And I'm like, you're showing me how dishonest you were. And how for 3 years you have been charging me $3,000 a month, that you're fully aware that I did not need this service at all, and that you were way overcharging it, and you were banking on the fact that I didn't find out. So anytime that you discount, I wouldn't see it as giving a favor to the buyer. Ultimately, you're communicating to them that you could have discounted from square one, and that the only reason that you did discount is because they were about to walk, or they called you on it, which really messes with you from a trust perspective of, if you could have done it for that price and you thought that was fair, why didn't you lead with that? So from a high level, discounting is always going to be bad, like always going to be a bad practice. But the trust that it breaks with your buyer, the trust that it broke with me, is I scrapped them all together. Mm-hmm. I said, you're just fired over text message. 3 words. I'm like, you're fired. You're fired from all of my business, because if you could have done it for that price, you should have done it from that for the beginning. So think about that the next time you're thinking about a discount, and whether it really helps your buyer and how that makes you look to them in a conversation where they already probably have questions about how much they should trust you.
All right. Well, that's our podcast.
I got something for you, Beck, to make you feel good. We asked them if they, how many people we asked the question, even if you believe the price is fair and you'll pay it, do you still negotiate? 80% said yes.
Oh,
80% said, yep, I think the price is fair, but I'm still going to negotiate.
Yeah, I chopped 3 heads this week. Didn't even cry. Just kidding.
So, all right, everybody. Well, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this Sales Top to Bottom. I am your host, Keenan.
And I'm back. I'll see you next week.
Peace. I'm out.